This is Ben Ingram from the Atlanta Braves Radio Network, and you're about to go riding with the Braves, presented by Chevrolet. Let's see who else is joining us today. Riding along today in the Tahoe Z71, presented by Chevy, alongside Charlie Morton. Thanks for joining us, man. This is fun.
Thanks for having me, Ben.
Absolutely. I want to start off with just where this team is, and it's you're one of my favorite guys to listen to after a ball game. I feel like the way that you communicate with what your starts might be or how the team is going, it's really insightful. And something that caught my ear was the way you talked about this team, this clubhouse, the unity within, how it's not just teammates. You guys are buddies and friends and hang out with each other. Is that something that you find to be abnormal in the game? And talk about the unity of this clubhouse and how much time you guys enjoy spending with each other.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think it's abnormal to have that dynamic when you have guys that are ball players, relatively the same age, within 5, 10, 15 years of each other. We all kind of came up in the game and because we had to, and we grew up playing baseball. And I think in doing that, there's an underlying culture that develops as a ball player. But I think that the dynamic in the clubhouse with different personalities is pretty complex. You're dealing with 26 active guys. You're dealing with guys that are on the IL. You're dealing with guys that are getting called up and down. So at any given time, you're probably dealing with between 30 and 40 guys in a season coming in and out of the clubhouse. And just like any other social group, there are dynamics that are beneficial or can negatively impact that group, and based on personalities or you name it. So you hear team chemistry a lot, but I think the quality of the people in the clubhouse can supersede and transcend the differences that you find culturally. Maybe there's language barriers, there might be age gaps, there might be the hierarchy of senior guys that have been around for a long time versus a rookie. And I think just the nuances of those kinds of groups kind of determine the chemistry and just the baseline of how good the group gets along and plays together. So I don't think that I would say most people in Major League Baseball are good dudes.
Yeah.
Like I would say most clubhouses, there's good dudes in there. I think though that there are just groups that are a little bit better together, and there are individuals that are just a little more selfless, and they a little more humble, a little more. I don't know, and the difference isn't. It's pretty small, but you add those up, like I said, between 30 and 40 guys coming in and out over the course of a year, and you're dealing with success and failure, and the guys in the group really amplify the effects of that. So I think this group here has got to be, I would say the best, if not one of the best.
Yeah. How much does winning help bridge those gaps for guys in different age groups or coming from different places and that kind of thing?
Yeah, winning is it's kind of a compounding effect, because you have groups that are full of guys that are good dudes, and the coaches are good people, the front office good people, medical staff, you name it, people that work at the stadium, and every day you come to the park and you're dealing with good people, but you just might not be winning, and certainly losing a lot of games puts stress on that. It puts stress on those relationships, and it puts stress on the clubhouse, because now you're not only dealing with, hey, am I having a good time playing baseball or coaching baseball, but is my job secure? Is this goal that I've had for my entire life attainable? Is it unattainable now because I'm not performing well? Am I going to get kicked out of baseball? And people are trying to provide for families, and they're trying to fulfill their dreams, and they're trying to make something out of all the work they put in just to get to the big leagues in the first place. So I think the stresses that are put on people when your team is not performing or individually not performing, certainly has an effect on the clubhouse. And when you're winning, it makes it a lot easier. I mean, you don't see the cracks as easily because winning is ultimately the goal for the team, and if the team is winning, it solves a lot of problems. So,
definitely.
But also a good group will make it easier to win. So you have those,
kind of go hand in hand.
They do. They can go hand in. They definitely go hand in hand. So, but winning, like you hear this, winning cures a lot of things.
Yeah. Your career is so fascinating to me. Number one, it's hard to be in the big leagues as long as you have. It's a tremendous accomplishment. I remember a conversation I was having with Kelly Johnson about how just getting to 7-8 years in the big leagues is an ultra accomplishment because you got to be so good for so long, and you've been in the big leagues for 16 years. But your career, about halfway through, obviously good enough to be in the big leagues, but halfway through, would you say that you became a different guy? Your strikeout numbers go up. It seems like you tapped into something that maybe wasn't there before. Was that just experience, or explain that to me?
Yeah. Well, I mean, they give out the gold cards at 8 years. Mm-hmm. So I mean, I think that's usually around like 7-8 years is when you're kind of like when you're considered like a veteran.
Right.
And I mean, I got to that point and I didn't feel that way. I didn't feel like I was. I didn't feel like I had grown into myself. I didn't really know how to handle myself that well in a clubhouse, except just try to be a professional. Mm-hmm. But I think I was dealing with just such a volatile performance on the field that it was really difficult for me to feel like I had a place as a leader in a clubhouse. So whether that's a vocal or just by example. And then after the 15 season, so I threw a game. We were, I think, a game or two back of the Cardinals in the NL Central, and I gave up like two or three runs in the first or something like that, and I gave up another couple. I think I was booed off the field in PNC the last start I made as a Pirate. I was there for 7 seasons, and it was, like going back to PNC is like I just still remember that night.
Yeah.
But after that season, because I remember I was really frustrated, and I was a sinker guy, mix a curveball and my changeup, and I just didn't. I wasn't that. I don't know. It was my approach was so simple. It was just sinker at the bottom and then mix, try to get them off balance and try to get the ball in play on the ground. But that was really frustrating because it's you're kind of flipping a coin. It's like, hey, here's the ball, hit it. And at the same time, around 14, 15, hitters really started to you hear about launch angle,
right?
Guys, and a sinker guy. You live and die by the sinker, but at this point now, hitters are actually starting to develop swings to get to the just above the knee to the knee and drive the ball. So it was a really conflicting identity to have as a pitcher because I'm trying to get the ball on the ground and guys are trying to hit the ball in the air, and that was really frustrating. And then I went to the Astros. It was actually that off season. I changed my workouts. I got in to a gym with Andrew Emick, who's a AAA guy for the Brewers, strength coach. Mike Goff owns Athletic Edge in Lakewood Ranch, and Tony Watson, who's a really good friend of mine. Tony was like, man, you got to get in this gym, like because I got traded by the Pirates. I wasn't going to be going to Pirates City in the off season,
right?
And I went in and I got in with Tony and Andrew and Mike, and we had a really good group in there, and of other ball players, major league guys, and my workouts changed. I feel like I got in really good shape, and at the same time I started kind of messing with my delivery on my own, and just trying to kind of feel some things in my body instead of trying to be somebody else. I was just kind of trying to feel how my body worked a little bit better, and became even a little more rotational. And plus I was healthy. I'd had multiple hip surgeries. I'd had TJ with the Pirates. I've been on and off the IL. I was dealing with injuries off and on, and I got healthy and I got stronger. I think my delivery got a little bit better, and I went into spring training with the Phillies, and I remember my first start in spring training, I was sitting like 95. I was like 94 or 96.
And you were still sinker heavy at the time?
Yeah, but I was I saw that the ball was still coming out, because the year prior I was in spring training, I was sitting like 88 to 91 in spring training. I was coming off of a hip surgery in the off season, and I eventually got my velo back up a little bit, but to be, I don't know what it was, I have 32 maybe at the time. To look up and see that I still had that stuff was really encouraging. And my first start was against the Reds. I went like first couple innings, everything was great. The ball was coming out great, and then they started to get to me. Base hit, double. I don't even remember. And I gave up a bunch of runs. And I remember Cranny was the assistant pitching coach, and Bob McClure was the head pitching coach, and they got together and they were looking at the numbers, and they saw my curveball had been performing through whatever, my whole career basically, and hitters were hitting like $1 something on it, and they were like, why don't you throw that? Like, why don't you throw that pitch? Why are you throwing all these fastballs? And that was the beginning of the turnaround with my repertoire and like my pitch mix. And I started to see my strikeout numbers go up. My stuff was playing better. Chooch was catching me, so he's really creative and veteran guy. And unfortunately, I was running down to first base on a bunt that I laid down that was horrible, and I just blew out my left hammy. I had surgery on my hammy, and I was out for the rest of the year. But the Astros saw something in my stuff, and they signed me to a 2-year deal. So when I got in the room with the Astros in spring training the next year, they were like, "Hey, you got to throw that curveball more."
Yeah. Is it the same curveball that you'd always had?
Well, AJ Burnett is a spike curveball guy. So he had a really, really good curveball, and we played together in 12, 13, and 15. And AJ showed me the grip, and I think I messed around with it, started messing with it in 2013. And so he's the one that introduced me to the spike. And then, so I guess you would say that's a different breaking ball than I was throwing before. But I wasn't throwing it,
Right.
I wasn't throwing it 25, 35, 40%. I was throwing it probably 15% of the time. And so when I got with the Astros, they told me, they were like, "Hey, we want swing and miss. Like, we don't want the ball in play. We want you to get we either don't want them to swing, so we want ball to strike pitches, or we want them when they do swing to swing and miss." And that took me a while to catch on.
Yeah. Did you think that you could be that guy?
No, I didn't know. It's exciting to hear a plan. Because when you think, all right, I'm just going to grind this out as a sinker baller for as long as I can, or I'm just going to grind this out as a two-seam guy with try to get ground balls. When you feel that way, being a sinker guy, like, it's not that fun. Like, it's not, it's just kind of like, all right, you live and die by the sinker, by the ground ball, and you just hope that it gets hit to somebody.
Right.
And then as a guy that's being encouraged to mix it up a little bit more, that's more exciting. That's more fun. That's because it's, as a pitcher, it might be the best thing for you to just beat the ball, have them beat the ball on the ground. I don't know. But as a pitcher and as a guy who's, trying to game plan, and it's just more fun. It's more exciting.
Not near as monotonous, I'm sure.
Yeah. And when you get the reputation as a strikeout guy, you kind of there's kind of a confidence that you get. There's kind of an identity that you have that's you kind of require more of yourself. You kind of require more of physically and mentally putting more exertion into each pitch. So there's just an aspect of that I kind of enjoy. I think once I started to find an identity as a strikeout pitcher, I started to feel more like myself.
That makes sense. Take me to the 2021 World Series. Your first as a Brave. You had pitched in 2 prior World Series with Astros and the Rays. But game 1, you take the comebacker off the leg. What was going through your mind at that time, and how did that develop over the next 10, 15 minutes till you ultimately had to come out of the game?
Yeah, well, in 21, I'd actually gotten hit in my legs by comebackers at least 3, I want to say 4 times. And each of them resulted in an out. So I got hit it either went to first base, or I can't remember. Maybe one went to Riles one time. I can't remember. Doovie got me one time, because I just remember like getting hit a few times in 21, and Yuli hit me with that comebacker, and I ran over to first, and Freddie got it. I think I remember Freddie getting it, and I just remember thinking, man, shoot, I just keep wearing them,
Mm-hmm.
But like anytime you get hit by a ball that's coming at you pretty hard, it hurts. They all hurt.
Yeah.
I think it's just how long it lingers and how intense it is, how intense the pain is. So, shoot, I mean, it's the World Series.
Yeah.
You're all amped
Adrenaline.
up. Yeah. And I just remember being underneath the dugout and telling our med staff, because that's why we went down there. It's like, something's not right. Like, this is kind of different. And, they x-rayed me in this little portable x-ray machine, and it came back negative. And we talked about it, and I threw a couple balls off the wall, like a little heavy ball. Told them the same thing, like something's off. And I went back out there, and I was trying not to show the Astros that because it's like, you never know.
Yeah,
you might see something and just start bunting off me or whatever. But it, I knew something. I got hit, and when I was pitching a 2V, I threw that 2-strike breaking ball, and that's when I felt the bone just snap.
Oh.
So.
And you knew immediately.
Well, I knew it was the bone.
Yeah.
Because most of the time, like, you have like a trauma to a bone. Like, I've broken bones before, and you don't feel like the bone go.
Right.
But this one, it went, and that's why they had to plate it and do surgery on it, because the bone just was pretty messed up.
Yeah. Well, here's to getting back to your 4th World Series, and this time being healthy all the way through, and
Thanks, man.
and win another one, man. It's I could keep this conversation going for an hour. It's so much fun to talk baseball with you and life with you. And thanks so much for taking the time to do it today.
Thanks for doing
You got
this.
it,
Thanks
man.
for having me.
You got it.
Appreciate it.